In studio, we're now joined by Agnes Magunje, who is the chairperson of the Informal Traders Empowerment Association, to talk about the 2025 budget, midterm budget review. Welcome to the show, Agnes. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely fantastic to have you. Now, let's cut straight into the conversation. Of course, we did have the 2025 midterm budget review yesterday, presented by the Minister of Finance, Professor Mthuli Ncube. Now, what's your general assessment of that 2025 midterm budget review, and is the Treasury on track?
Let me say some improvements, but my issue is on the surplus of 65%. You know, a surplus on a budget doesn't necessarily indicate a positive impact on development, especially when you're looking at such a huge percentage. It could be an indication of lack of implementation of very vital areas of change, where you look at the 7 billion going towards health, and then when we look at how crucial our health sector is at the present moment, you feel like, yes, it could, we would have loved to have an exhaustive budget, more than having a budget surplus, and have some of the critical areas still not really fully, you know, feeling the impact of change. So yeah, it is a good track. I think also the issue that there is a lot of concern around changing the ease of doing business, because the issue of licensing has really been a great impediment, especially for the informal sector, to comply, and even small and medium enterprises. You find sometimes that for business to fully function and reach its full capacity, the licensing issues has really been, you know, cumbersome, where you need one license for a particular area, and then, you know, so you find that the cumulative routine of licenses has really impeded business. So yes, it's good that this has been said, but we want to really see how it's going to unfold, and at what length of time is that going to be really felt in the business. But yes, a lot of positives, but still a great could be improved.
Could be improved.
Yeah.
There's room for improvement, but they are on track. At least that's what I'm getting from you, that yes, there are challenges. Yes, in terms of regulatory costs and the license fees that you're talking about. And of course, we heard the Minister of Finance talking about, you know, reducing those levies and fees so that, you know, they somewhat create, you know, a more conducive business environment.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think if that is done, we are going to see greater change, and also, you know, the willingness of the public at large and business at large also interfacing with government. Then we can realize a revenue collection that is more sensible, that is also going to give impact, but also holding each other accountable. Right. To say, if we are going to also be paying taxes, we should also be able to visually see where these are going. We should also see the impact. You know, the critical sectors, education and health, are very vital. It is saddening to note that the huge amount in the education sector is going towards compensation of staff. We don't want to get to the point of compensation. We should be able to award you know, rightfully from the beginning, because once you realize that we now have to be allocating funds towards compensation, it obviously means somewhere, somehow, we were not able to address each other. So we want the budget moving forward to be very cautious of the needs, to also take into consideration the recommendations that are also made through the budget consultative meetings.
All right. Now, how will the proposed fiscal reforms, especially the inclusion of the informal sector in tax relief, affect your members? And is government doing enough to transition informal traders into the formal economy without over-regulating them?
I think in business in general, everyone has been really heavily taxed. And the informal sector, most people feel that it is not contributing towards the fiscal part of the economy. But what is happening is we have the regulatory board, which is mostly local government that regulates the informal sector. You know, your local councils, your RDCs, they have been collecting revenue and they regulate that sector. However, you find that there are challenges in them interfacing with ZIMRA. I know around the 2017, 2018 going forward, we had come to a point where council would be collecting on behalf of ZIMRA. Whether it was remitting back to ZIMRA, that we would really not understand. So from the amount that people were paying, especially for the vendors, you would find that that fee also included a certain figure that would go to ZIMRA. And then you would also find that the presumptive taxes that ZIMRA also proposed for certain sectors in that informal sector, let's say maybe for the hairdressing and whatnot, have also been collected. Although it then looks like there is no direct contribution that is going towards revenue for government from the informal sector. But yes, that has been done. It's just that ZIMRA should also sit and come up with a figure to say, you know what, from this sector, the micro businesses that have also contributed towards presumptive tax, this is how much we've collected, so that there can be measurable changes, and then there can also be measurable impact, and then wherever issues need to be addressed, then they can be addressed with full knowledge, and also not making it a one-fit-all kind of tax, but really coming down to who is doing what and how much revenue are they collecting. Because when we are being compared with the formal sector, it is an issue of the formal sector contributing towards income tax. And yet, with the informal sector, the income is not certain and it's not guaranteed. So it should also be cognizant that, when we are saying these people have to contribute, what are they contributing, how are they contributing, and from what?
Right. So not to put all the informal players under one umbrella of tax heads. That's what I'm hearing you say. Now, Treasury announced a pending energy deal with the African Development Bank. Now, how might this affect investment and industrial productivity going forward?
I think energy is a very crucial part of development, and when we are looking at moving from NDS 1 going to NDS 2, where issues of infrastructure, issues of economic development are very vital. We are looking at industry, and for industry to be fully functional and really impact positively on the economy, the issues of energy are very critical. So that deal is going to come in handy, and we also feel that we should be intentional to also say, when we are looking at all these other deals, how they are coming in and the revival that we want them to cause into the economy, how are they also going to address the issues of unemployment? How are we going to create more jobs? Are they also going to be how can I say, like taking from the huge informal sector, addressing that and making them fall into the formal business, going forward. So energy is very crucial for any economic development trajectory. So yes, we are looking forward to actually seeing more transition even from industry, which will also flow into the different manufacturing. We would also want to see even the service industry, because it also gets affected when energy is disrupted.
Right. Now, do informal traders have access to reliable energy supply? And of course, how does this limit their potential?
I think we can't separate them from any other business, because with energy, particularly when we look at electricity, it affects a lot of business. We have a lot of small industries, home industries that are in the informal sector, who are also producing for the retail, for the wholesale market. So you find that once there's disruption in energy, then it also falls back. It's the whole chain that gets affected, because the bigger industries have closed and shut down. So those skills have been now taken over by the informal sector, by the SMEs. So energy disruptions really cause a lot of losses. You would also find that issues of fires that tend to, be experienced. When we look at the recent case of the Glenview Area 8 a situation whereby sometimes some of these fires are caused by technical or electrical faults, because people are just trying to probably harness electricity from one point, and then it's overloaded, and such issues also end up causing a lot of damage, a lot of loss, and it can be monetary, it can be also productivity. So it also reduces, the growth that is also supposed to be experienced. We would also want to be seeing a lot of these goods being taken out for exports, but we are then limited to what we can produce at a particular time, because most of the time the load shedding, so it kind of cuts down production.
Right. Agnes, before I let you go, what's one key reform or policy that you believe government must prioritize in the second half of 2025 to sustain recovery? Are we closer to an inclusive economy, or it's more deliberate effort is needed to balance growth and equity?
I think there is so much that needs to be done. I think first and foremost, the government should be intentional. We should not just speak about it, but we should really put it into motion. The issue of policy around taxation, around licensing should really be evident. I think also the other thing that can hold us accountable is timelines. If we say, okay, because I think the ease of doing business is the most critical, because once the ease of doing business is not easy, even foreign investment is not going to be lucrative. We have a lot of investments that have shunned away from Zimbabwe because of its economic policies, its monetary policy. That should be critical in this new era as we move forward. This last half of the year, I think the monetary policy should be very clear. We should have confidence back in our currency. We should be, because what it is it's like we have one foot in, one foot out. Are we saying, we are saying this, but are we doing this? How are we supporting? Before we announce some policies, we should be very cautious of the effect that they're also going to have on business, the effect that they're also going to have on the general public. And I will give an example of the retailers' predicament that we saw, in the early months of the year, which, a lot of things came into play because of the changes that were in policy, the rampant changes, let me put it in that way. So I think it needs for us to be very cognizant of what we say and the impact of what we just pronounce and how it's going to affect business.
All right, Agnes, thank you so much for coming to the show.